what we do.
Okay.
That will work
Yes.
for me.
Okay, so it is June 18th. And we have the 5 of us. We have an agenda. And the first thing was to touch base on the Undesign the Red Line exhibit down the street and how RACE had wanted to have initiatives to help promote it. And so just to summarize what happened, Cal reached out to Joy. We invited her to come speak to us. We hosted that online meeting about 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And then, we recorded it and posted it online and sent it out to various social media sources. We posted on the listserv. And just those are concrete things that we've been doing to try to get the word out about this exhibit. Anybody got anything to add? I just wanted to state that that's something that we've at least been able to do.
And Joy posts on all the listservs about upcoming programs and reminds people about it and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, she did a great job.
she did.
We it's kind of late. We talked about, you guys bounced around the idea of doing a flyer. I'm guessing that's not something you probably want to bother with at this point.
You know, Kyle, when you brought that up, I was thinking like paper flyer, but then the other day when I was at the Cleveland Park Metro, I saw a sign that looked just pretty much like a campaign sign about that size that was posted in the ground. And it is, I think, one of those promotional tools that Van Ness uses sometimes to promote its activities. Maybe it's sort of a market, a Main Street type initiative, but it had just 4 lines on it. And it said like June, named of and then it had an event that was taking place. July, event that was taking place. Anyway, it was just a very succinct way of getting the word out about things that were happening at particular businesses in the neighborhood. And it was just June, this is, boom, boom, boom. And I was thinking that pedestrian area would catch people's eye. And if we had signs in our neighborhood as well, I don't know if I mentioned to Joy, do they have any kind of a tool like that already in use? Because they do have a branded look on their website. It might be something to consider.
Well, I know that Joss's transit safety working group, transportation safety working group, put up flyers, and I sent you a sample of what that looked like, very simplified with a barcode, QR code, and that takes you to a web page where you can take the survey, because they're doing a survey. But we can, that could be hooked up to an email address. It could be hooked up to a web page with a bunch more information. You could put it there and have put the information there and have a barcode. And they were using that to put up signs. The other working group was actually doing a handout for the different layout that they're handing out to people at Friendship Heights about the bus changes and things like that. So that committee is already using, an 8.5 by 11 format. I guess the ones that are going up on the light, they're being attached to, that are used as signs are probably larger, but I don't know.
What committee is that, Cal?
What was that?
Is that the transportation committee?
Yes,
that's
the
doing that?
transportation committee. Yeah, I guess I can talk about it when we get to that item
Sure.
on the
I
agenda.
mean, I don't know what kind of a budget we would have for this. I don't know if the Red Line folks have a budget.
If it's black and white and maybe color, I don't know. The library gives you 20 free copies every day per library member. And you can even, I think you can even email the jobs in from a PDF or something like that. You don't even have to go there with the original, and you can go pick it up like 3 days later or something like that. So there's the printed form of things that we can avail ourselves at, either signage or handouts.
I mean, just like put them on telephone poles and things like that.
That's what I was thinking.
that's a possibility. We did promote it to the commissioners and asked them in emails, pointed emails, that they attend an event or at least the exhibit. I would love to know who so far has attended the exhibit of our commissioners, and hopefully all of them.
Mhm.
Carl, did Bruce Sherman say anything about whether he had attended?
It never came up as we weren't talking about that.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, it would be, it relates back to our conversation about outreach and something that could be useful to communicate to the community.
Anyway, there are two more underlying events left, right? So,
Right.
But the exhibit is open until July 11th. I mean, I do think there's limited time for any of this additional stuff, but I think the best way is just to be there and observe it on your own. I mean, there's just so much to read. It's like a book on the wall. That's what museum people call this. And it's a personal thing. Different panels affect each of us differently. And it's so easy just to remind people they can stop at the Cleveland Park Library anytime the library is open and view the exhibit, visit the exhibit, you know?
That's what I thought we were talking about, really just getting people to show up for the exhibit.
Yeah, it's not the programs, yeah.
Yeah.
so we're giving up the idea of doing the race thing an hour or so before one of those.
Well, I know I'm going to be going out of town pretty soon. Let's see who's going to be in town. I mean, I think if we're going to try to promote a gathering, we need to be there.
Yeah.
And last time we tried, it fizzled because people's schedules were complicated. So if we try to do another community gathering hosted by RACE, then people from RACE need to show up. And we did well the first time. It's just that we have to make sure people's schedules would work.
We've had the village has had two tours and gatherings, and we had a coffee gathering after with the first one and lunch at Spices after the second one. Small attendance, 10 and then 9. But it was really worthwhile and powerful for the people who came. But
do you feel like the people who would attend a gathering hosted by RACE would be any different from the people who have already attended?
that's the problem.
That's a great question.
We did receive nice feedback from a couple people about the Boyle's presentation. And that was really nice, including feedback from, I forwarded you all feedback from a woman who, this is the next one of the agenda items. And such a good question, like, okay, it's great that you've had this and you're recognizing the work that went into it, but what's going to happen next? What are you doing to engage action? And so I had questions for Joy about that, because I don't know the group, because this is a traveling exhibit. Perhaps there are success stories of things that have happened, things that have worked, things that haven't worked as a springboard for action from this exhibit in local communities. So it'd be interesting to know if they have recommendations, and what do we foresee as something that is feasible for us to help with action. I wish we had a chance to, I know that the library captures the names of attendees to the events. but I don't know how much we have in terms of who comes in and attends and just checks out the exhibit.
They don't have that, yeah.
Because it would be a great mechanism to follow up with people. You don't think they have anything like that?
No, they don't. We've asked Joy, yeah.
No, because you can just walk in there, wander around, look
Yeah.
at, walk out. You don't have to.
Yeah.
sign anything.
They
Yeah.
don't keep track of that or attendance, and it's
I
not.
wonder why. I wonder if that's just because it's a bit complicated to do for them. They feel like it would just, or
No, I think it's a
Let's-
different reason. I think it's a library and people don't want to be followed around and tracked.
yeah,
So it's a matter of protecting your liberty to do things without being surveyed all the time under surveillance.
but you would think that somebody who's attending that exhibit would, if they knew that it would be used for, you know, future reflection or discussions. you
There'd
would
be an
hope
easy
that-
way of doing that. If they wanted to do that, all they have to do is put out a book that you can sign in, right? And keep.
Mhm.
And I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect they've had this conversation amongst themselves already.
Yeah. I didn't hear back from Joy about that. I guess that she was maybe gonna talk to the organizing group and see if they did things already, or I don't know. But I think the question of, like, you have this captive audience who's attended this exhibit that can be pretty it can be, like Marilee said, very personal, and you can have all kinds of thoughts coming out of there, including just educational knowledge. And you think that it would be a springboard.
But we can't identify, I mean, I think the beauty of it is just, it's there, and if they're at the library, they might look at it, and even if 1 or 2 people a day goes away with knowledge that they didn't have before, and maybe worth their while looking into the history of it, and, you know, I think it's serving its purpose the way it is. I think those are the most valuable ones to show, to see it, who would never have come if they were invited or if they knew what was there. And they just kind of walk in and they're looking around and they, you know, they learn something that they never knew.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think with all due respect, this conversation is like pushing on a string. I don't understand why we're having this conversation to begin with.
Well, because the person who attended the person who, I don't know, she may be African American, the woman who wrote that question. She said, this is all great, but what are you doing to encourage action?
Well, there's an answer. I mean, is it today or tomorrow that they're running a program exactly on that question?
Yes.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
What is this?
I can't remember the name of it, but the sense of it is exactly what you just said. What do we do with the knowledge that we now have?
What's next?
Fantastic.
They who.
It's this week. It's maybe tomorrow or Thursday. I can't remember the date.
But who's
It's one of
they?
the programs. It's one of the programs, Cal, which
From-
Joy told us a few weeks ago. They tend to get somewhere between 30 and 35 people at these programs.
Well, that's great. That's an example right there of
Yeah.
intentionality for what they're gonna do next. Carl, you want to give us an update on the window project?
Yeah, speaking of communication and public education, where we won't necessarily be tracking people, except if we have the capability to do it by whether people log in to it, if we have a QR code going back somewhere. So the latest is that we're at an impasse so far with CVS. We can't get through to them. We don't know why, whether it's because they don't want to hear us, or because they're so complex an organization that it's impossible to find someone to talk to.
That's just outrageous.
So whatever the reason it is, it gave us that meant in the first instance, myself and Rachel Mowry, an opportunity to begin talking about Plan B, what we should try to do if we can't find a window that is satisfactory. And if you look up and down the avenue, really the only windows that would accommodate the plan as has been sketched out so far would be CVS. There are no big windows. There's possibility of mounting the exhibit in other ways, in other places, but without a good prospect. So if you look at PNC, for instance, which has a bunch of paned glass windows, you could attach it there, but there's a garden between the building and the sidewalk. So you can't get people close enough. You need to be at least within 1 meter of the poster in order to read any text, right? You need to be that close. You won't be able to read it otherwise. And if you look at PNC's landscaping, that doesn't allow that. And there aren't any other good opportunities out there. So I had a conversation with Josh Levin. Josh was on the board of the Avalon for many years and just went off. But his last act, his last contribution was to put together a panel that some of you may have attended. There were 100 people in the theater at the Avalon on February 4th, I think it was. There was a screening of Do the Right Thing, and there was a panel afterwards about how the movie business handled racial issues back when Chevy Chase was developing in the 20s, 30s, 40s, et cetera, right? So it was an interesting panel. I had the usual suspects in it, plus a couple of other really interesting people that know a lot about cinema. And anyway, the point is that I wanted to talk to Josh because that was a clear indication to me that he had an interest in what we're doing. And together we sat down and came up with the idea, instead of focusing on text, right? It was never the case that we put all the text that we have in the concept paper on any kind of poster. It was just to excerpt small parts of it. But even those small parts would be too much if you expected people to get close to it and read it. So the idea, instead of that, was to go to a pictorial idea and just have pictures with a caption and a QR code, and put these pictures in different parts of the neighborhood. And so each picture would tell a part of the story that we want to tell, basically. And then the QR code would take you to a website, probably HCCDC website, that would have the big text in it. And so people could get close enough to get the QR code, be drawn in by the image, right? Get the QR code, and as they were riding the bus downtown or whatever they were doing, they could read the text. So that's an alternative plan. And then you could put these images anywhere. You could put them on the glass enclosures for the buses. You could put them in all of the windows up and down the avenue because they'd be smaller, and you'd only have to, you wouldn't have all the images in one place. You'd spread them out through the neighborhood, and they'd be unified by a logo, a RASE logo, right? Maybe RASE / HCCDC. And that would unify the exhibit. So it's a completely different way of doing it, in light of the fact that we're having trouble finding, necessity is the mother of invention sometimes. So this is a different way of approaching the same thing.
So Carl, have you ever thought about, Renee, the fencing that's around the old diner and using a different type of medium and doing the pictures around there?
You mean where the pictures used to be? They took them down. Remember there were our muralist, Regina, I can't remember her last name though, but did all those murals of these, celebrities.
No, not the mural. We're talking about the fence itself. It's a fence around there now.
Oh, the fence, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, we don't know how long the fence is going to be up
Well,
there.
it's been there for a while now. Doesn't
Yeah.
look like it's going anywhere.
Maybe.
It might be worth finding out how long that fence is likely to stay. Carl, have you
I mean,
thought
you
about
can walk up
asking-
to it. It's
ask-
close enough. It's nothing
Yeah.
obstructing.
It is pretty central real estate right there.
Yeah, no, could be a good idea. I mean, there's been a banner there, and it hasn't been ripped off literally then. The banner probably has more resilience than a cardboard poster
Yeah,
model.
you would just have to change the medium. It would no longer be the cardboard poster. It'd be something that could stand the elements. It'd be more of a plastic kind of thing with that'll be able to attach to the fence itself.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we did that, we'd have to start from square one again and
Same design, different medium.
ask the production people, what that would cost. We costed it out at a certain level. If you graduated to something that was more resilient,
Yeah, maybe it definitely be a different cost.
repercussions. And we don't know how much the ANC ultimately is going to be able to give us. So it's a question,
Do
but
you think
I mean, it's a good idea. And I appreciate the, quick thinking on your feet about, what other possibilities are. But, in general, it struck me that it was reconceptualizing how to do this may have, I mean, the Pepco idea was a good idea for what it does, but if you've ever been to that part of Wisconsin Avenue, you know that it gets practically no foot traffic.
Right.
So no one actually sees that thing, or very few people. And if they have a particular event that they do around it, they could gather 20 or 30 people and have some people show up and talk about it, which is how, on the opening, that's how I found out about it. So the idea of flipping the narrative, as it were, and focusing on the pictures, and almost everybody has a smartphone these days and can get the QR code, seem like
Carl,
an interesting alternative.
when you're talking about having images in separate places,
Yeah,
I wonder if individual businesses would be willing to each like restaurants, business, like if we were to address individual businesses in the neighborhood,
exactly.
would you be willing to participate in this neighborhood group activity? Maybe one of them maybe they would even sponsor, each one would maybe sponsor their own little participation window.
Yeah,
And get recognition for being part of this event.
It's a great idea. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, it was the limitations on my own thinking, really, in just kind of copying what Friendship Alliance did. And I wasn't, the brainstorming wasn't storming enough, I guess. And so again, necessity is the mother of invention, and we're talking about things now and alternatives that didn't occur to us earlier on. There's another problem. If again, there's an election coming up. We have an ANC that has supported this idea in principle, 7-0, which is very rare for this ANC. After the election, they may not. So we were hoping to get this thing up and running before the election. The idea was to get it up around Chevy Chase Day, which is the 21st of September.
Why
It's
would the
getting
election
late.
change whether or not they would support it?
Different commissioners.
Sorry?
Right?
So I didn't hear the question.
I was just asking why do you think the election would affect whether or not they would continue to support it?
Because be a different commission. You know, people would have to take it up again. It would be different people sitting there. And depending on who's elected, they may have a different idea about it. There are no guarantees.
You don't think that they would see this as a good idea that's already in the works that's been, carried to this point that would be beneficial to the community for them to continue supporting it?
I have no idea. The election will tell us that. And, when they first sit down after the election in December or January, then we'll begin to learn whether or not they'll take up the idea. From this ANC, we got a letter from them that is addressed to the vendors on Connecticut Avenue saying, we support this and we would like you to participate. So we have that now. That letter runs out as soon as there's an election because it doesn't come from the ANC anymore. It comes from the old ANC. And then
technically it runs out at the end of the term, which is mid-December.
yeah.
Do we know yet who are likely to be the commissioners?
I beg your pardon?
Do we know who is likely to who are likely to be the next commissioners?
No, we don't know that.
Well,
I'm going to, we don't know who's going to be, we know who's not, we know some of the people who aren't running, right, for the commission. And some of them have been very friendly to this committee, like Ferguson, for instance, will not be running again.
And
Peter Lynch is not running again. And Peter Lynch, his SMD is the SMD along the Connecticut Avenue corridor. So we just don't know what's going to happen after November. We don't know whether this committee will survive after November.
So this committee needs to be voted on and approved by the next commissioner?
Absolutely.
Next ANC.
Well,
yeah, every ANC gets to, organize itself as it sees fit.
So the budding transportation committee.
I'm not so sure about that because the standing committee has a different status than a regular committee, but I'll look into it. I know they have to, when we had this the last time, which was 2 years ago, all they did was approve new members, and I don't think we had any because Corinthia joined, I think, in the middle of a term. But I'll check. I'll have to go back to the agendas for the meetings of early last year and see what was on the agenda for this.
Yeah, we're getting far afield from the issue of the windows, but that's my report. My report is that since we haven't been able to break through to CVS, which was our hope, there's a plan C too. The plan C is we do the exhibit anyway, but the exhibit goes in the library or the community center as a permanent exhibit. So that's kind of a default position.
Not a bad
alternative
at all.
Yeah, especially the library. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think, I'm kind of excited about the idea of breaking through to the digital space to do something that is multimedia, as it were, and to do something that is perhaps more artistic and interesting along the avenue. So when Levin and I were talking and came up with, brainstorming, came up with this idea, it appealed to me because it's different. Younger people will probably cotton to it, which would be a real good thing. We could put it in places where there is foot traffic. It's decentralized. It involves more people in the community, more vendors. We're what's not to like about it?
There are definitely possibilities for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well,
So
Cal, I think, should we move on to the update about Dr. Hewitt?
Yeah, let me race through these. So I have a poll set up. I was told that she's not available for any evenings in June, but wants us to suggest a bunch of dates in a few dates in July. So I have the poll set up. I just wanted to check to see if there are any particular dates that we should not include in July. I've omitted nights of the ANC meetings and the I don't remember what else there was. There were a couple of things, and the night of our meeting. Because I think she said, no, I included the night of our meeting. So it's like 3 days a week, and there's 5 weeks in July. So 3 days a week, and then I added August the 1st. So I'm about ready to send that out to the whole committee. But if there's any dates we should avoid, let me know.
I'll be out of town for some particular times in July, but that doesn't need to hold anybody back.
Do you know those dates?
Yeah, I'll be gone July 2nd to the 8th, and then the 26th through the rest of the month. And a lot of,
I leave on the 12th of July, and I won't be back until August.
Wow.
Mm.
Okay.
August 1st.
And then the
Well,
other,
and you want to avoid probably the first week of July because of the 4th and so many, I don't know.
well, it's also the last redesign event at the library,
Right, yeah.
which
what
I
about the
can't
9th,
make.
10th, and 11th of July before Carl leaves?
All right, so I'll have to do it again without the first week of July. Okay. What'd you say about the 9th, 10th, and 11th?
Well, that's the second week after Undesign has ended.
No, it doesn't end until the 11th.
Oh, it doesn't end until the 11th. That's
Well,
right.
that's just at the library. I don't see any reason why we
Right.
can't meet, but there's not an actual event happening in the evening.
True.
Let's see why we can't meet, right?
Right.
Unless you want to be there for the closing or something like that on the 11th.
I don't know if there's anything special planned. We should find out.
Okay, so I ran it from 5 to 9 p.m., figuring that we're going to concentrate in the 7 to 8 category. So that can go out. I can get that out today or tonight or tomorrow at the latest. Now I have a question with all the travel that's happening in July. Anybody else not available for travel in July besides Carl and Libby?
I'm around most of July except for one weekend.
I mean, should we hold off until August? I mean,
August will be worse.
Oh, August will be worse.
I don't know, at least for me,
So,
maybe in Carl.
right. So probably we'll be without Carl. And then we'll try to make it so it's not without you, Libby. Okay. That's that item.
Okay, thank
So
you.
Do you like it being 5 to 9, or do you want me to narrow it down
What
farther?
is 5 to 9?
Okay,
What do you mean by 5 to 9? Are you talking about 5 p.m.?
5 p.m. to 9 p.m. is the range.
Oh, the range of like setting the meeting times?
Right.
Sure. I mean, 9 is pretty late for her.
Well, we could go till 8:30, but there's no half. You have to do it. It only goes in even hours. So
She
even
would
if
be
it's-
willing to meet with us like that late? I mean, you'd think that maybe we should meet with her kind of during her office hours.
Well, they said evenings.
Really?
Yeah, because they know we tend to eat evenings anyway, I think. You just said send me some evenings that would work for y'all. That's the last thing she said to me.
Well, that's great. That's really nice of her.
Yeah, that's when she came last time. Came at 7.
I think 9 is too late, but
Yeah.
Well,
8 to 9 is a
it's
little
allowed
late.
to go to 8:30, but the poll mechanism doesn't allow me to set it up that way. Even though
Oh.
you can specify your individual availabilities in 15-minute increments, the range of the actual poll itself has to go from an even hour to an even hour. So I can
I
make it
prefer
8,
5 to 7 personally, but
5 to
I
8.
have to cook dinner for my family.
Well,
Yeah.
5 to 8 because 7 to 8 is our usual meeting time, don't you think? I wouldn't want to make it any, should cut it any earlier than 8 for an ending time.
How about 5 to 8?
5 to 8?
Yeah,
All right. Any other?
I agree with 5 to 8.
Okay, good. All right.
Okay,
So
thank
let
you,
me move on-
Cal.
Let me go on to the next topic, which is the Transportation Committee. So, Transportation Committee has 2 working groups, one for bus transit, which is very active right now, given the threat of taking the E4 off of McKinley Street until west of Connecticut Avenue, which some people think is a horrible idea because it's a left turn. Zachary Ferguson has said, well, we get the people who live in the apartment buildings get more service because it'll run on Military from, if you're coming across the park, it'll run off, stay on Military until Connecticut, go up Military, go up Connecticut and turn left on McKinley. And that extends this bus desert more. So that's one point. And we're actively trying to show up at as many WMATA events as we can, testify at their hearings about that. The other working group is the Transportation Safety Working Group, which put out a survey sometime within the last week. I think it was Saturday. It's only been 3 days. They've already gotten 37 responses. They did put a flyer up with a QR code, and that may have boosted their support. That's the one I sent you, Libby. And so safety issues related to that. But apart from that, the committee itself, the whole committee, wondered whether RASE might want to make some comments or take a stance on transportation from the point of view of either affordable housing being expanded or racial equity or anything else. So that's where I am.
I mean, perhaps we should have somebody come and educate. I don't feel like I'm in a position to, I'm not very knowledgeable about it, so I feel like we would need to get input from people who are affected the most by the transportation situation in the neighborhood. I mean, what do you think RACE can offer to the conversation at this point?
Well, the social equity part of our title has to do with providing transportation, make it available for everybody. And with this huge, if you look at the map, I mean, I can show it to you real quick if you give me privileges to share my screen. But you'll see this big gaping hole that's about to get a little wider as they move the E4 from McKinley Street to Military Road, where there's absolutely no bus service through the heart of Chevy Chase, through the heart of the residential section in Chevy Chase. And so it's not very equitable. And as we are an aging population here, with the highest concentration of seniors who want to take the bus, they can't, because they can't walk to Connecticut Avenue, they can't walk to McKinley Street, they can't walk to the M4. So from an equity point of view, they're not really hitting it, WMATA.
Yeah. I agree, and I feel strongly about it. I'm not, I guess I just assumed there were people advocating for it. Who is advocating for
Well,
people who need it?
Jim just submitted yesterday a resolution to be considered for next Monday's ANC meeting about everything from the E6 to the L2 to the M4 and the E4. And a couple of us are looking at service that goes beyond that, which just comes into our neighborhood, but gets us to other places. Like on the Maryland side, they want to get rid of the L8. There'll be no service up Connecticut Avenue beyond East-West Highway, and you have to transfer the East-West Highway. Not a great place to transfer. So, especially if you have to walk across one of the big streets or the other to get to the bus stop, or maybe both. So, you know, our bus working group is very active about this. You know, like I said, we're showing up. We might try to get a news story. We're trying to see if we can get a meeting with somebody from WMATA, although they told us they don't have the resources to deal with individual neighborhoods and tough shit, basically. But
What about the commissioners? Are they involved?
Well, Jim Nash is the head of the transportation, chair of the transportation committee, and Zach's interested, but he likes the idea of the rerouting on Connecticut Avenue of the E4 because it gets more transportation for apartment dwellers in those 2 blocks between Military and Livingston. Maria, you may want to comment on that. And Corinthia, if you would do too. But there's no it's not an advocacy group or something like that that's handling other than the smarter growth group, which has its pluses and minuses. There's some other things you can do. You can send send the email address, which has been posted on the listserv and other places, that you can send us your input and also put public comment to WMATA. So we can try to get together, at least the one to us, we'll try to get together more of a collective voice and saying, hey, we want this not to change. We want more service, not less.
Now, what has been done so far to advocate on behalf of the community to WMATA?
The 2 existing resolutions, one almost exactly a year ago, that was done by Lisa, and another one was done by Lisa in February or March, when they were threatening to slash service all through the system because of the budget cuts, but then the budget got rescued. So there's those 2 and this new one that we're doing. And then we, like I say, we show up every time WMATA gives us an opportunity to speak, gives the public an opportunity to speak. But that's our little working group, which is actually just 5 people.
Can I propose that since you are the buckle between us and that committee, and you know us well, and obviously you knew them well, that you write up a position for us that we could discuss, that we could send back with you to the other committee?
Well, I want to just mention I'm not the only one. Ron Eichner is, and also Maria. The 3 of us are.
Oh, Maria, sorry. I didn't know you were on that committee. But so one of you, or both of you, could you do that?
What do you think?
Yeah, we can do that. Okay.
All right. Give us a chance.
I'd like to sign it. I think we should sign up for that, I think we should make a statement, but I agree with Libby. I don't have quite enough information, but it's clear who's going to be suffering and who's going to lose service,
Well, so 2 things. You want to be involved with the drafting of this thing, Marilee, along with Maria and me?
Well, send me a draft and I'll give a. Yeah, I think.
Carl, Cal, you have the information, so you should be able to just state the facts of what's been done.
Well, I'll send an email out to you all that has the link to a Google Doc that I put together with all the details of these bus lines that go through the neighborhood and what's going to happen, how the new plan compares with the old, as well as they're also going to yank a bunch of bus stops on the crosstown line. But they're not changing that for Connecticut Avenue, which is interesting. They want the bus stops to be farther apart all across the system.
Yeah, I think it would be really helpful if you would write a 1-pager to summarize what is at stake in terms of what could be taken out.
We could try that.
What we have right now and what's been done so far and where things stand.
Yeah, I guess we could do that, and what we're doing and what we're not doing, where we need things to be done and all that stuff. Yeah. Okay.
And I would just add, in addition to everything that Libby said, in 1 page, also, what needs to be done, what the action should be, what we'd like to see happen, either or not happen.
Well, I want to see.
Especially as it relates to an equity standpoint.
I want to see 500 people going down to WMATA headquarters all at once and filling up the hallways. Because they move WMATA, WMATA is no longer downtown, it's at La Font Plaza now.
Oh,
Mhm.
well, okay, this is an important effort
Yeah.
that you're
Yes, it
saying in the
is.
And
transportation.
if there are also, if there are safety issues, we have this other group that you think, because I just also think if we're gonna bring, they're gonna be a apartment building on the civic core, then that there's transportation stuff there, both from the safety point of view and the access. And I think that that's definitely a place for us to weigh in, but maybe not just yet because we're not there yet.
And so we have the last item on our agenda, and because Lisa's not here, I don't really feel like I don't have the details to know how to discuss this.
What
Uh,
is it?
I think I forwarded it to you all. An email from Lisa about an incident that occurred in the neighborhood, a racist incident,
Happened in
some-
April.
right. And Mary Lee seemed to recall something along those lines as well. Was it the same event? I don't know. That's why I just really don't feel like I know enough to talk about it yet.
Okay.
I also, I mean, I remember a similar event that we heard about and a couple months ago, so I don't know if it's the same one. I just I did, there's some question about whether there's a white rabbi with a rabbi with a wife who's a social worker who lives in in the area. So I don't know if there were some confusing facts or whatever, but
Yeah, that's why I feel like we need to know more. Lisa had said
Okay.
she was gonna contact the person, and
Okay.
that's probably the very most best way for us to find out more is just to
Okay.
know how the conversation went. And of course, it's really good that if we are able to be in touch, to know really what went down, because that's just something that we could follow up on if we had real knowledge.
Was this done anonymously? Or was it through Nextdoor or how did
What I
this?
saw was parts of an email. The addressee, I couldn't really understand who it was.
I mean, we're supposed to have this racial response thing. Um. To deal with it, but if we don't know who the person is, it's gonna be very difficult.
Right. Right. I think maybe that was communicated to Lisa, but it was hard to tell from the email. So that's again, something we need to hear more from her about, before we can do anything. And it doesn't really help to speculate because it won't get us anywhere.
Well, I don't know if this is the same incident with the rabbi and the social worker. Because I think in the email you just forwarded to us, it didn't say that, Libby.
No, it didn't.
Right, so this might be a different incident. This is just people accosting her and saying, what are you doing here? You don't belong here, blah, 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 blah. You know, they're not saying it outright, but that's the message, that's the undertone.
no, the recent one was about the rabbi and the social worker wife.
But you sent that to me only, Marilee, I think.
But
So-
you,
So I
you
don't
sent
believe,
it to me and I shared it with Jamie.
right, but the part about the rabbi, I don't think the rest of the group
Oh, okay,
saw that email.
okay.
So, right.
Well, a lot of confusing details, so I do think
Yeah.
we need more information, yeah.
Right.
Oh, you're right. It does include the thing about the social worker. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah, all right.
Whatever the case, it's good that whoever had the issue felt like she could talk to someone about it. And hopefully she'll be willing to talk some more about it.
Right, well, the person,
Just wouldn't, it's just wrong when that person who's already suffered something like that has to be in a position where they're uncomfortable even further,
Right.
but
well, the person who sent it to Lisa is not the person. But that we have that person's contact information, the person who forwarded to Lisa.
Right,
So we could I'm happy to contact her and see what she has to say.
well, I think Lisa was gonna do that.
yeah, let's
Oh,
wait and
Lisa
hear what
did?
Lisa has to say before we get too crossed, our hairs crossed. It can get a little confusing.
Okay, that's fine.
So there we are, guys. Corinthia will probably be back. She was on a trip, and Cal, let's see, I know Ron has been busy. I hope Maurice is getting better.
Yeah.
And Renee, this is just a busy time. The summer is always a little hard for keeping up with meetings. We don't have a meeting in August, as far as I know.
We don't, but as far as we know, but we could still have one if we wanted. The Transportation Committee is seriously considering having a meeting in August.
I will be away for a good part of August, but Corinthia could probably take it. I don't imagine she'll be gone the second half of August because she's got to have school coming.
Right.
Can you who are traveling, that's you, Carl, and anybody else, can you email the committee what your away dates are so I can start tracking that?
Yeah, I'll send you some right away.
Okay.
I have a week in late August too, but I'll let you know.
Anything from now until Labor Day. Probably good. All right.
One last thing, at the ANC meeting taking place next Monday, I have it on my calendar, it's at 6 p.m. It may be at 7.
7.
At 7. If we want, we can still wade through the whole entire meeting and offer to show the 1-minute video that walks people through kind of the aerial view of undesigned red line. Last time I had problems with sharing my screen and the meeting had already ran really long. And so we didn't go and end up showing that, but we could if we wanted to. So
I could, if you want me as a backup, because just get me the video and I can make it happen.
okay. Appreciate that, Cal. Yeah. And thank you again for connecting us with Joy Bates Boyle. And I saw her the other night in person as opposed to a screen finally.
Oh, by the way, that same day from 4 to 7 next Monday is the last of the Ramada hearings on the bus plan. If anybody wants to, it's on Zoom or on some virtual thing.
Well, I mean, Mary Lee, as an individual citizen, you might want to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't have the information. It's one of the things I haven't been following.
I will
Yeah.
get you.
But I do feel strongly about it, so I just need the information. If you could send me what you, yeah, that would be
I'll
helpful.
send you a link to that document first because I'm not
Yeah.
going to have a 1-pager right away.
Mhm. I mean, there's about 10 posts on the listserv every day about it, right? It's just.
Yeah, that's the thing when there are so many different,
Mhm.
it's hard to, a 1-pager position would be good. So thank
A
you,
lot of what's,
Cal.
yeah, go ahead.
And I guess I'll go ahead and close this out.
Thank you, Libby. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, take care, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the
Bye.
idea, Maria.